Well, a good Tuesday morning / afternoon. Hope you're having a great day, Central Georgia. Hard not to have a great day with weather like we have in store for this afternoon. And that's virtually going to be the same story each of the next 7 days. So we're going to do these live streams, kind of a Q&A time. Obviously, we're on our 13 WMAZ Plus stream. If you want to say where you're tuning in from or have any questions about the forecast, I made a post in the 13 WMAZ Weather Network. Feel free to shoot a comment in there and I'll look over that after I go through the breakdown of your forecast. But right now it is just really a quiet period of weather. We were talking about it last week, but we still did have some very cold rain and a big cool down in store for the beginning of the weekend. Now we are bringing back the spring-like weather to end the month of February and kick off the month of March. So we're going to start it out like we normally do with these live streams. We're going to take a look at what's going on currently. Clear blue skies over downtown Macon. We had a little bit of thin fog in the picture just a little bit ago during the morning hours. That's not the story anymore. And definitely no fog that was very, very dense in nature. So a beautiful image right now over downtown Macon. Let's take it all the way around the horn. How about downtown Dublin right here getting close to the midday hour? Looks like many folks are making their way out and about, maybe taking that daytime lunch break. I would definitely advise today for taking an outdoor lunch break. It is going to be mighty splendid weather. But if you miss out today, like I said, we have a lot more of this spring-like weather in store for the next couple of days and a couple things to talk about as we head towards the end of the week. Now down to the Georgia National Fairgrounds, where it's a lot quieter than it was around this time last week. They were getting set up for the rodeo. The Tykes teens and toddlers, I do believe, is the consignment sale down there. So it was a busy weekend at the fairgrounds. I'm sure they're enjoying a little bit of a quiet period, and also clear blue skies all around Central Georgia this morning. So now let's go over to our temperature map. You may be kind of shocked at some of these numbers already in the upper 60s, even some areas crawling to that 70-degree mark down in Vidalia. It looks like 63 is the lowest point I do see on this map right now up in Monticello. Many areas in the mid to upper 60s and then going to make their climb up to that 70-degree mark. But not even stop there. We are going to continue with this warm weather over the next couple of days. So now I'm going to take it back to this camera right here because obviously I want to point out a few things on our graphics that we do have on here. So we're going to preface it with this. How do we compare to yesterday? Well, 69 degrees was our high temperature. It definitely overshot what I was thinking. I thought we were going to be right on par with average at 66 degrees. So it looks like we are trending above what the models have been telling us, at least in terms of those specific high temperatures. But 42 is what we started out yesterday morning with. You remember yesterday morning, it was pretty dreary, cloudy skies, scattered sprinkles everywhere, just not the ideal start to your work week. Definitely making it the gloomy weather that makes you want to kind of stay in bed. Not very helpful on a Monday by any means. But then today we are going to increase that high temperature. However, that low temperature, it definitely did get well below average for this time of year. We did see some area, well, I guess I won't really say well below, but we did see some areas crawl into the upper 30s. And that's because we didn't have the cloud cover to help keep us a little bit warmer. So let's take a look at today's almanac. Obviously not seeing any recorded numbers. We won't get those till later on this evening. Ben Jones will be here to report those. So the average high and the average low still 66 and 41. Well below the average of 82, or the record, of 82 degrees set back in 1930, and then the record low of 14 degrees back in 1967. So very glad that we're not in either of those years, because getting to 82, that's a little bit too warm for our liking. However, we'd be closer to the record highs than anywhere near the record lows over the next couple of days. We very well could crawl well into the upper 70s tomorrow, and that should be the warmest day on your 7-day forecast, but we'll get to that in just one second. How do we compare to everyone else around the country? Well, believe it or not, we're probably one of the warmer areas in the south and the southeastern portions of the country. Obviously, areas farther to the north, you see some of that light blue color. 49 in Kansas City, 51 in Indianapolis, 54 up in D.C. and Virginia Beach. So it's a little bit cooler up there, and we're already well into the 60s, even around what temperatures are in Panama City, Jacksonville, We have a higher temperature right now than Orlando, but the difference is Florida has been in the 60s for a couple hours so far today. They always have that year-round pleasant weather. When you get into the colder months of the year, they don't really feel the cold whatsoever. And then over here to our west, actually a patch of cold along Louisiana and Mississippi, right there along the Mississippi River, in fact, with temperatures in the 50s. And it looks like the only area above us is San Angelo, Texas right now at 72 degrees. So we can always put it in perspective. If you do think this weather is a little bit too warm for your liking, 72, Texas more than likely will crawl into the 90s in the next couple of days if they don't have any impactful weather systems. But most of the country trending around what we are or even a little bit below. And taking a live look at our satellite and radar picture right now. So this is really what we use to pick apart cloud cover on quiet days or rain when we do have active weather. We're not seeing much of anything besides some clouds as you take a trip down I-16, maybe around Statesboro, Claxton, getting over to the Savannah area closer to the coast. And that, in fact, is because of a stationary boundary that is kind of draped across the eastern seaboard of the United States. Other than that, you see high pressure is dominating the forecast amongst many areas in the deep south and the southeast. This low pressure system, it's probably moved a little bit over towards the east right now. This is what moved to the south of us yesterday. It was located just south of the Panhandle, and that continued to bring widespread showers all across the really Gulf or peninsula of Florida. And didn't do much other than that, just mainly be a rainmaker down there. But it did send a little bit of moisture up here for some cloud cover and some sprinkles during the early morning hours. That will continue to move out of the picture down towards the southeast and these boundaries right here that are creating lift for some rain showers around Jacksonville, maybe getting into that southeast corner of Georgia near Cumberland Island and St. Mary's. Those will continue to move out of the picture as well. And we're not going to see really any big weather systems on the horizon. Not much going on over to the west where we typically see our weather systems move in from. So that is going to be good news. Nice and clear weather to enjoy all of these beautiful spring feeling temperatures. But now we'll flash it over to our future view. So I'm going to kind of drag it at different points throughout the day. This is going forward just an hour right here. Steady breeze, temperatures continuing to warm. Not even seeing a cloud in the sky unless you look out over towards the southeast, really. It's still some cloud cover around the Atlantic Ocean coast of Georgia. And now we get into Tuesday at 5 p.m. Like I said, that cloud cover continues to build out of the picture. We're just left with nice clear blue skies as we're wrapping up the second day of the work week. We go overnight, not seeing anything in the way of cloud cover, so you can assume that we're going to have pretty similar low temperatures tomorrow as what we had this morning. And obviously, when I say the spring feeling like weather, the warmer days, that is definitely subject to the afternoon. So we still have a little bit of a chill in the air as we wake up each morning, even though 40s definitely does seem like an increase and a lot more pleasant feeling weather than the upper 20s or even low 20s that we had not even a week ago, about 5 days ago to kick off Friday morning. So now as you're waking up Wednesday, nothing's going to impact your morning commute. We may see some areas of thin fog just like we saw this morning, but nothing that's really going to be very impactful. Once again, 12 o'clock for tomorrow, 1 o'clock. You want to take that outdoor lunch break? By all means, do it. It's going to be beautiful weather once again for yet another day. Probably a little bit warmer, maybe a degree, 2 or 3 than what our temperatures will be today at midday. And then as you're wrapping up your Wednesday evening, still nothing impactful going on. Just clear skies remains the story for today and tomorrow, which is very nice. But however, we go into Thursday morning, you'll start to see some clouds building in farther over to the west, the northwest, up behind the banner there around 7 a.m. None of those are making their way into central Georgia by sunrise time. So once again, not going to see much fluctuation on that morning low temperature. We take it through into Thursday afternoon. That's when you're starting to see a little bit of an uptick in these winds. It's kind of hard to see. Let me take this graphic full screen for you. But those wind arrows, when they start to get a little bit longer and a little yellow in color, that means they're going to be a little bit gusty. So that's 2 p.m. on Thursday, and I had to drag it out there. Sorry for making it jump like that. I guess you got a sneak peek. But once we head into the afternoon hours, more so the evening hours, as you're wrapping up your Thursday, that evening commute, going to be a breezy one. Some clouds are going to start to move into the picture because of this frontal boundary that's going to move through. Now, typically ahead of these frontal boundaries, we see pretty good rain chances. You get organization, you get lift ahead of these boundaries, and that's what creates virtually that never ending, I guess, is what it seems like sometimes when we have severe weather fronts move through. Continuous line of rain, I guess, is rather what I should say on that. And that's present farther up to the northeast of us that you can see up around Augusta, around Columbia. That doesn't really look to come to fruition here. It just looks like if we see any kind of rain, it's going to be very light showers. We're talking scattered sprinkles, really, and it's going to be hit or miss. More areas are more than likely going to not see any rain whatsoever. You'll just deal with an increase in clouds and some breezy conditions heading through Thursday night. And then overnight into Friday, this is important because daybreak sleep out. That will be taking place around 6 p.m. on Thursday, all through the night into early Friday morning. It does look like the winds do go down in speed. You're not seeing those yellow colors that you see off the Atlantic coast. We're just dealing with some shorter and some white wind arrows in the picture as we turn the day into Friday right there. So we'll go ahead and pick apart these winds because that's going to be the really only indication that this frontal boundary is passing through. So you'll see Thursday morning, maybe a steady breeze starting out the day. But as we continue into the afternoon, you'll see those gusts get up to about 20, 23, maybe 22 miles an hour. That's probably about as fast as they get. They may approach 25 miles an hour at times. But then with the actual passage of this frontal boundary, not seeing as gusty winds. You can see those occasional gusts maybe popping down to 16, maybe 20, 25 miles an hour. Just going to be a breezy Thursday evening with the chance of a sprinkle or two. And then heading overnight, if you're planning on going out to daybreak sleep out and spending the night outside, it's definitely looking like the winds will start to calm down as you continue during the overnight hours into early Friday morning. And then that's as far as that model run does go. So not too much going on. The only thing that is really worth noting is going to be that front passing on Thursday. Slim sprinkle chance. Just have the umbrella handy if you're worried about running into one of those light showers. But right now, I put a 20% on the 7-day this morning, and that was very generous. That was just to cover maybe some fluctuation between model run to model run. And each model run we've continued to see all throughout this morning has showed just the potential for really a light scattered sprinkle or two. So just increasing clouds, really. Some gusty winds, mainly Thursday evening. And then as we go into Friday, the winds will calm down in nature, and then it will actually be a little bit cooler. Remember, we talk about these cold fronts moving through. They usher in cooler and drier air in behind them. So as that front does come in from the northwest and pushes through central Georgia, we'll see some cooler and drier air settling in. So the drier air, for one, is going to bring back the nice sunny skies as we kick off the weekend. But not necessarily a cold front. During the winter months, we do see these definitely, I guess you could say their impacts are definitely increased. There's a lot colder air following in behind these. Some of them have brought our Arctic air masses. This one is only looking like a brief cool down, and we're probably only going to notice it maybe during the morning hours. So we'll go through the long-range future view real quick. Let's play it out and see what do we have in store for the weekend ahead. Just taking a look at that. So Friday, as we wrap up the day, clear sunny skies virtually all over the southeast, not dealing with anything impactful right there. Going on into Saturday, many of you probably wanting to enjoy this beautiful spring-like weather that we have in store. Once again, nothing going on weather-wise. It looks like all the weather is farther up to the northeast of us, way behind the banner, really hard to see. And then we go into Sunday. You see a slight increase in some of the clouds, partly cloudy skies, but all the weather makers are over to the west of us. So as we take it into next week, we can probably anticipate some kind of weather system impacting us early next week. Let's take it into Monday right now. The GFS model, so that's going to be this green blob that you see right here up there in the top of the banner. You see that indicated in the green. That could be creeping over from Mississippi and Alabama. Remains to be seen. Typically, we like to see agreement amongst these two models, and right now it's only the GFS that's saying that that rain chance is going to come to fruition, and this is still 6 days out, so very unlikely that we'll see this exact scenario play out. We try to monitor the fluctuation in the extended forecast, but just really showing you what the potential is. So then we take it on into early Tuesday morning. Once again, this big green blob right here, the GFS is really hinting at rain all across the southeast down into Florida, while the Euro is definitely lagging behind and saying a completely different scenario. It's hinting that a frontal boundary of some sort will take shape farther over to the west, the northwest. And if that comes to fruition, we start to see a little bit of agreement amongst these long-range models with that kind of front. That could definitely bring some widespread weather impacts, because this is looking rather robust and having widespread impacts as of right now as we head into Tuesday afternoon, evening, I guess you could say. But it's still not even here as we go into the midweek next week. Just something we'll keep an eye on. We're going to try to see if we can get more agreement on a specific timing of this. But all you need to know is that we do have better potential for some kind of rain as we head into next week as opposed to this week. So the main story really does remain the temperatures when you have quiet weather periods like this. Average low this time of year is 41 degrees, going to hover around average. That's exactly what we did this morning. Some areas did creep into the upper 30s, a little bit cooler, around 41 degrees as we kickstart tomorrow morning. And then Thursday morning, a little bit warmer, a low of 44 degrees. We'll probably see a little fluctuation, so don't get locked into these numbers for the foreseeable future. This is just to give a rough idea. 40 and then 38 on Saturday morning. I definitely do think it will be a little bit cooler because, like I said, that cold front will pass and usher in some very slightly cooler air that will lead to maybe more areas than not being in the upper 30s, but still not looking at a hard freeze or anything with temperatures below 32 degrees. Just a little bit cooler than what we have been doing, a bit more of a chill in the air. Definitely going to be that dress in layers kind of weather, because if you're heading out in the early morning hours, you're definitely going to want to stay warm with a little bit of that chill in the air. But then by the afternoon, you are not going to need layers whatsoever, because take a look at these afternoon highs for the next 5 days. I put 75 for today, up to 77, potentially even higher for tomorrow, and then back down to 75 before the clouds do increase later on in the afternoon on Thursday. Then we're down to 67 on Friday. I know it looks weird to say 67 is cool compared to the rest of these temperatures, but that's what we're dealing with, that slightly cooler air after the front passes on Thursday evening. And then we're back into the 70s on Saturday. And I just showed you clear skies basically every day with the exception of Thursday evening. Get out and enjoy this weather while we do have it, because like I always say during the morning show, we still have another 3 weeks until the first day of spring officially kicks off. So we very well could see another cool down into the early parts of March. Also, it's not going to be very opportune that you'll see warmer temperatures without maybe some pop-up showers or even thunderstorms, especially once we get into the summer months. So while we have clear skies and these beautiful feeling temperatures, definitely be sure to enjoy them as much as you can. But now going into kind of some specific forecasts. This is one of my favorite things to break out whenever we do finally get some warmer weather. Green spatulas all the way tonight. So if you've been really itching to fire up that grill, it's just been a little bit too cold for you, 6, 7, 8 p.m., no matter what time you want to get dinner started, it is looking good to go, and we're not looking at many winds. We're just looking at a beautiful, pleasant feeling night. Maybe might need a coat later on that you venture out to the grill, but still you'll have the heat of those flames to warm you up as well. Also, daybreak sleep out. We're doing a lot of it. We'll be doing live coverage. I'll be live doing the weather at midday on Thursday. Ben Jones will be out there for the evening show. We've been doing packages all throughout the week with it. So kind of a general timeline. Obviously, this is a very long event. This is starting at around 5 o'clock on Thursday evening and going all the way until 9 a.m. on Friday morning. So by about 6 p.m. getting started, there's a chance of a sprinkle. Like I said, not too impressive from what I just showed you in those long-range models. Just some mostly cloudy skies and some gusty winds. You see west-northwest, 5 to 15 steady breeze, and those occasional gusts up to about 25 miles an hour. But temperatures are going to feel great in the upper 60s for the start of daybreak sleep out. As you're falling asleep, maybe staying outside, still going to be a bit breezy. However, skies will be clearing out and the temperature starting to get a little bit cool, but 50 degrees definitely isn't that bad. It's as you're waking up is that temperature going to be at its lowest is going to be around 40 degrees. A chilly into our daybreak sleep out. If you are going out there, be sure you are still bringing your layered clothing and something to keep you warm. And that sunset going to be at 6:25 on Thursday evening. So right after we get started with daybreak sleep out during our evening show as well. So looking ahead, there's a couple things to look forward to. The biggest of these, the time change. So yes, it's been a while since we've talked about changing those clocks, and we have 12 days until our next time change. And I'll get into more details in that in just a second, but just go ahead and mark your calendars because it's a little less than 2 weeks away. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday is when we're going to move the clocks I believe it has moved forward an hour. I'll have to get into that. The graphic I have next is a better explainer of that. An exciting time with all three of these things to follow. St. Patrick's Day, first day of spring, and Cherry Blossom Festival, the kickoff of that, all happening within a span of 5 days of one another, all big time celebrations. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that the weather that we have this week can stick around for those events. But obviously with the first day of spring kicking off, I imagine the weather will be pretty similar to this unless we see a very, very late cool down at the tail end of winter. But with the daylight saving time, it will be kicking off on Sunday, March 9th. So sunrise is going to be a little bit later, closer to the 8 a.m. hour, but the sunset is actually going to be later into the night. So obviously we're talking about that sunset is starting to set just around 6:30. Maybe many of you, if you have a late day at work, you're still watching the sun set as you're going home from work. Not going to be the case anymore. That official change will happen right before 2 a.m. So it's going to be while you're asleep. Many of your devices automatically correct for the time change now. However, sometimes you're going to have to change that manual battery powered clock. So we're going to turn the clocks forward 1 hour. That's what it is. Spring forward, fall back. Spring forward means that we're going to sacrifice an hour of our sleep. I know, so you're going to get an hour less of sleep. So maybe go to bed a little bit earlier on March 8th. However, we are going to get those later sunsets back in the picture, and the days are just going to continue to get longer as we get into the longest day of the year, which is coming at the beginning of summer. So right now, we look like we're going to have a lot more daylight still in stores. We're looking at sunrise to be a little later, sunset to be a little bit later, but what we're going to see until that longest day of the year is sunrise to continue to move back. So 7:55, it will continue to rise earlier and earlier and earlier, and that sunset will continue to get a little bit later and later and later, all the way until that longest day of the year. Hopefully going to enjoy a nice 9 p.m. sunset or two once we get into the summertime months. So that's really all what's going on. I milked out a lot of that. Very surprised that I was able to talk that long. This is a very quiet period of weather, but obviously there's always things that you can look forward to and always things to talk about that are in the near future. I'd say the biggest takeaways are cloudy and windy Thursday evening, a slim chance of a sprinkle. And then as we head into next week, it looks like some form of weather system tries to take shape to our west. We don't know the timing of it as of right now, but it does look like we have better rain potential next week than what we do have this week, because obviously the rain potential this week is virtually slim to none. So I'm going to go on my Facebook real quick. Obviously this was a little spurt of the moment kind of Q&A session that we were going to do. And let's see on my post if I did see anyone. I see a couple people that have liked it and said thanks for the info. I see Cheryl Finley said that. So yes, you guys obviously probably don't have too many questions about the weather. You're like, okay, how many times can you tell me it's going to be beautiful outside? Well, I'm just going to reiterate it because it just puts you in a good mood. And obviously there's nothing to complain about, nothing to worry about, at least in terms of messy weather or frigid cold or brutally hot temperatures. And that perfect in-between period right here at the end of February going into the first day of March on Saturday. So get out and enjoy it, whether that's sitting out by the pool. Still think it's a little bit cold to get in the pool, but hey, you do you. And then also walking your pets, going to be great weather for that. The pavement's not too hot for their paws, so go out and get your exercise, enjoy that beautiful weather, and also your pets can get some wonderful exercise as well. You have any outdoor plans, going to baseball games this weekend, going to any, well, I would say football. I'm still struggling with the fact that football season is over. Any kind of outdoor events that are going on this week, definitely get your fill in, because obviously we know the weather changes just like that. And we could very well see another big cool down. We could see some messy weather as we head into next weekend. So we have to get the most out of the nice weather while it does last. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to continue to do a couple of these each and every week, including into the weekend. I did 2 last week, and then Ansley Parker had 1 on Saturday. So just wanted to make sure you guys had all the information you needed available to go about this week and enjoy the beautiful spring-like weather stretch that while we do have it. And we'll continue to keep you updated if there's anything that you need to know here on the 13 WMAZ Weather Team. So thanks for tuning in. Have an incredible Tuesday, Central Georgia.